Hard hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to puff him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Yeah.
Schedule release day here. And what do we have?
Bobby's fired up.
There I am.
Bobby, I didn't know you had these.
Fired up.
That was me earlier.
Look at those moves, Bobby. Look at you, man. I knew Bucky had Bobby, but damn.
I know what
fired
you
up.
guys are gonna say here. I get excited about the schedule every year. I do.
See
Maybe
how
it's just 'cause
fired
I'm
up Bobby was?
Is that your schedule dance? That was something else.
Maybe it's just because I'm going to a lot of these games. Maybe it's just because I'm looking forward to the season being back. But I've always just looked and seen like, okay, you know, when are they playing who? What order is it in? When in the schedule is it coming? And then this year there's a lot of return games. So I was interested to see where all that is. They actually stacked them all up.
You know who likes schedules, Bobby? Like fans of bad teams. Because this is like it's a little glimmer of hope. Like, oh, like I see 50 wins here. It's like, nah, you don't. You don't see that.
Well, that's the other thing I was looking forward to.
It's a blank slate, though. Everyone's fired up. You're looking to see when certain opponents are coming in. If you're a good team, you're just the hunted. Or the hunter, excuse me. If you're a good team, you're the hunter. So you just go on your way.
Well, that was my favorite quote of the offseason so far is I think it was Luka Garza at one point out in Vegas being like, this team's been hunted for a while. Now we get to be the hunter. And that's been the vibe around, I guess, the building for whoever's been there over the summer. And obviously a few guys are coming in and out.
Are they the hunter or the hunted? Now I just...
They're the hunter.
No
one believes in them.
That makes them the hunter?
I think so,
like the hunter's like the team that's like, they're just out to kill. Like they're just
remember the last couple of years,
you're just gonna
we get everybody's best shot. They're not gonna get everybody's best shot anymore.
Well, no, that's why my brain's a little pretzeled here. Cause that's true. They might be able to like now they're the team that like the opponent doesn't show up for.
Now they give their best shot when they play the best teams.
Right. So they're the hunter. However, they might also be seen as like easy prey.
This is how it's going to be all show. This is the whole debate.
Are they the hunter or are they the hunted? We're really not sure.
This is all we're going to talk about. I don't have another thing on the docket. I have a piece of paper.
Put it in the poll. Are the Celtics now the hunter or the hunted?
It just says hunted ? And that's my notes for the whole show.
I think it depends on who you're playing.
Okay, so
anyways,
this is like this goes against all of my television producing experience here where you're supposed to like really sell it up front. Oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. But I got to tell you, if Bobby Manning is an 11 on schedule release day, I'm underground. Okay. I'm underwater.
Why don't we just start with what everybody's wondering?
No. I'm going to kind of bat the audience around a little bit. We're going to catch up. We're going to, have some beers, hang out. I'm also going to, tease a couple other things that are ahead. We're not just talking schedule, though we are going to talk schedule for sure. We are going to talk about the new ownership situation and what that means and why it continues to be weird. We'll talk about the roster as it's locked in now with the new additions. Jimmy hasn't really gotten to talk about that. We'll also talk about some interesting commentary from a Celtics legend that rubbed a few people the wrong way. Before we get into all of that, and we're going to break down the schedule. Jimmy looked it over. He'll tell you what his prediction is for the season. Before we get into that, I'll let you know Prize Picks. You got to get down with Prize Picks here, especially heading into football season. My God, people, this is the time. Get involved.
This is it.
Prize Picks now. Sign up. Code CLNS, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy, up to 1,000 times your cash. Plug in that code. Download the app. Plug in that code CLNS. Get 50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup.
Football.
You got to practice, kid. You got to get in on it. Yeah, and get in on it. You get that. Play 5, you get 50, and you can play around with that when football season begins. So definitely get into all of that. Also subscribe everywhere to all of our CLNS media platforms. If you like us, you like these videos, you like to hang out, you like the Celtics,
if you missed us,
check it out. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to CLNS Media, Apple, Spotify, follow the Garden Report, follow Celtics CLNS on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff. You know it. You consume a lot of content. You know how this thing works. Let's get into the schedule stuff because Bobby is geeked, literally geeked up.
Bobby's got the schedule beard going, John. Look at that.
He does. He does.
Yeah. I was waiting for the comment on that, but we'll get to that later. So the first thing I do, I open the schedule.
Okay.
What's the first thing I'm looking for?
I don't know. I'm looking for the.
You're looking. Yeah. What are you looking for, Bobby? You're probably looking for like Marcus Smart's return, Al Horford's return. I don't know. Player. Okay. What are you looking for?
Celtics season opener, October 22nd, home versus the 76ers. Loss. Game 2. I'm sorry.
Wait a second.
Jimmy went game by game earlier today. Game by game, and he broke down their record. This is very scientific. Jimmy, what'd you have him at?
I poured over it a couple hours, just went through the analytics. I got him at 0-82 when I
0-82.
Dust settled. Yeah.
That's tough.
They came close a couple of times, like Washington, Charlotte, but ultimately those teams pulled it off in the end. So I do have them at 0-82. Room for improvement.
Jim, if you leave, I'll leave. I swear. Let's go. Just give me a reason. Schedule contact.
Jim Dickey. Love that. Jim, don't leave us. The schedule was an excuse to go live, guys. It doesn't mean we're going to talk schedule the whole time.
Bobby's been talking schedule for a while, so I don't want to take it away from him. Bobby, you get into it.
He's had the schedule countdown.
The first thing I was looking for, Jimmy, I don't know how you didn't guess it, was Luke Cornett's return, and it's the first return on the schedule.
I knew that was where you were going with it. When is it, Bobby?
January 10th, a Saturday. I hope you're on the show. Usually not on Saturday.
I'm gonna have to be for this. I might go to the game. I might go to the game just to keep you away from Luke. I don't want to get you tossed from the arena.
And I'm looking right now on ESPN, $230 tickets to see Luke come back. That's hot
why.
one.
That's definitely why.
But yeah, I did on that. That's January 10th.
By that point in the season, it's going to be those tickets are going to be like Connecticut Sun non-Caitlin Clark tickets. That's going to be like $7.
Saturday games are cool. You get Wemby. Obviously, you get the Luke connection there. That might be a fun one. You know, you might get you still get like the holiday hangover going on. You might still be riding that wave. Otherwise, and it's like right before it starts to get really depressing in New England, like January, February, March. People want to I don't want to get too gory, but people typically don't love those months. And especially if the Celtics stink, we know the Bruins are going to stink. So it's not going to be pretty. Luke Cornett might be a nice little shining light in an otherwise very dark time.
So the returns do all come in rapid succession there. It's Luke on the 10th, Holiday on the 26th, Portland. Hopefully Rob too, who still hasn't played against the Celtics.
Who gets a video?
2 days later, it's Porzingis and the Hawks.
Also, Bobby.
Yeah, is there still going to be a ban on videos by that point?
Let me say this, Bobby. I don't even think
the video is the only entertainment worth seeing at this point.
Tickets haven't even gone on sale to the public yet. So you're probably just looking at like random season tickets that people post. People are going to be able to get into that game for a lot cheaper. That's a promise. The game I'm obviously looking at is Friday night. I think it's December 5th. Lakers come to town. Always love Celtics Lakers, but now you've got Luka, you've got LeBron. Celtics, hopefully in December, we'll still have a pulse.
That's a good
December,
one. Smart.
Christmas. Yeah.
It's on Prime though, Jimmy. How you gonna watch?
I'm gonna have to go to like a buddy's place or find a bar that's gonna be that's gonna pony up for it. I will not cave. I will not succumb to what the NBA is trying to do to us. I will let them pay for it out of their own pockets. They will lose in the ratings. I will not do this where I'm buying Peacock, I'm buying Prime, I'm buying this, I'm buying YouTube TV, I'm buying NBC. I can't do it, Bobby. I just can't do it. I will watch that game, but I'm gonna beat the NBA on that one.
So let me throw this at you, John, because I think this one interests you. Were you surprised to see how many national TV games they still got.
I mean, look, Boston is Boston, and it's the market is the market. I will say the amount,
half of them are fake.
Again, there's a lot of fake ones because Amazon games are not nationally televised games. You're not stuffing it down people's throat. It's like, well, it's like if I have League Pass, I'll watch whatever. Like if I have Amazon Prime, this is a separate conversation altogether. Streaming only games, I get it. This isn't boomer tendencies. I'm just simply saying you just forget about them. You know, like it happens all the time. The Sox were on freaking Roku. You know, like I was like, okay, good night. You know, like every time.
So they have 14 broadcast
every time Apple
ones.
TV does a baseball game, forget about it. It's just, you know, it's
that
not that they do a bad
one's
job
awful.
with it. In fact,
we're just not there yet as a society.
Amazon does phenomenal with the football. Their coverage is outstanding. So
they're gonna have a good cast for the NBA too. Blake Griffin,
and they'll have a good cast.
But you know what?
I just don't I don't consider it a nationally televised game in the sense that like the TNT games, you get geeked up, you flip it on, whatever's on, you just watch it. I just don't know that you're going to get eyeballs there. So, you know, it is what it is.
Are you kidding me?
I understand why they do it.
Logging in and figuring out a way to download the app and blah blah.
I hate logging in.
Some will. You lose viewers, you gain money. I mean, they know what they're doing here. I mean, they took the money. I don't know that it's good for growth or expansion of the game or of the brand. This isn't a great time for the NBA to be doing this, in my opinion, because you're talking about ratings falling right now on traditional metrics. I think you're going to take marquee games and you're going to put them in places that are even harder to find. And so the ratings reports are going to look even more grim because you're not going to have those numbers. Like, why did WNBA ratings maintain a little bit this year, even though Clark is out? Way more national games, not even ESPN, national. That's how you make those numbers look good. The numbers aren't going to look good here. And it is what it is. They did their deal with the devil, and that's that. So
how did Prime
have plenty of those?
How did Prime get all of the Celtics' best games? They got OKC, they got Golden State, they got two Knicks games.
One early, yeah.
They got Indy, which I guess won't really matter much.
I've got Prime. I mean, I'm watching them. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I don't think it's good for the league.
No, I've never liked it for baseball.
A lot of people have
I can't believe baseball went down that road. Well, I can actually, but
I'm the voice of the people, John. You know, I'm the voice of the people who don't have Prime. Okay, they shouldn't have to have Prime to watch their favorite basketball team play the Lakers or play the Warriors or play the Thunder.
There's some crossover, Jimmy. I'm sure that was probably the thinking too. Like a lot of people probably have football and Prime.
Let's throw some of these on here. Key dates according to Bobby Manning. This is what makes it move for Bobby. This is what he gets excited about. 10/22 opening night versus the Sixers. Luke returns January 10th.
This is all his return games. Yeah, I didn't even know you had this graphic.
I like
Holiday with the Blazers, Kristaps and Hawks at Boston. And Horford visits with the Warriors if he signs with them. And I think that
Bobby's a Jumbotron guy. He's a tribute video guy. That's what he pays to see, apparently. So all of us, I will say,
I want the Grant Williams tribute for all of these guys. The 1.2 second wave to the Jumbotron.
Well, Porzingis might get that the way he's been talking at this point.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get a big one for Horford. You're going to get a big one for Luke, I'm sure.
KP is going to get a lot of love. Everyone's getting love.
Everyone's going to get love.
I mean, they all won the championship with the team, right? So it's a little different than some of the other departures we've seen.
That is late. That is late in the year for some of this stuff. It could be ugly by then.
February 19th. The Warriors, I wish was.
That's what I really wanted.
There are a couple interesting things here, though. National televised games. There's 25, including the fake ones, right? There. The Celtics also have league low 13 back-to-backs this season, and by some metric that ESPN used to calculate, they have the easiest schedule in the league just based on wear and tear and the fact that they're playing in the East and the fact that they don't have back-to-backs or challenging matchups on difficult nights, just factoring in all of their travel and this and that. The Celtics are not being put through the ringer this year in terms of the brutal schedule. So for those people on Tankapalooza watch, that's not a good thing. For those people who still have hope that this can be a competitive team making a run for the playoffs, Celtics look like they got a little bit of help from the scheduling gods.
Yeah, and like you said,
You go, Bobby.
Like you said, John, it's something where I just don't put a lot of stock in that, because you look through all these games and you're like, okay, what are slam dunk games? And you'll give them the Brooklyns and the Utahs, as I've stressed, and Washingtons. Like, I still don't think there's going to be a team that struggles with those kind of teams. But Miami, Toronto, Memphis, Philly, as we're talking about here I have no idea who's going to be playing for Philly, but you still look at every single game throughout the schedule, save for a few, and say, are they going to win? I don't know. We don't know who the Celtics are yet. So it's tough to look at any opponent right now and be like, all right, they got them. They don't have them. We don't even know who this team is right now. So I was really looking, Jimmy, at the beginning stretch here,
right?
Just saying, okay, are there enough gimmies early on that they can stay afloat? Because I thought, regardless of how tough the schedule was going to be early on, and it is moderately hard through the first month or so here, I just figured it's going to be tough for them regardless. Adjusting to Tatum's absence, figuring out who all these new guys are, everybody stepping into a new role. It didn't matter to me who they were going to be playing early, regardless, because I think it's going to be tough for them no matter what. And you are throwing in some tough games early between Cleveland, Detroit, I think is super tough. The Knicks are obviously the Knicks, and then a Magic doubleheader on the road, followed by Philly, Memphis, LA. Like, there's some tough sledding early for a team that probably already was going to struggle.
I'm going to ask you this. And so Bobby and I have debated this. Bobby's more bullish on their overall chances. A lot of it has to do simply with the caliber of the East. The reason I have a difficult time getting geeked up about the schedules, I don't think any of it matters, because
let me just say this, John. Opening night, are Embiid and George showing up?
Look, again, on any given night, if players don't play or there are injuries or stars sit out, I mean, anything can happen. And we've seen the Celtics lose fully stocked to shorthanded crap teams. So, I mean, I'm not going to say what happens in one game. It's 82 games. Stuff can happen throughout. We're looking over a long enough timeline and whether or not we think the Celtics are going to be competitive. So rather than Bobby and I rehashing the same argument we've had over and over again, I think they are a play-in team with a floor of lottery and a ceiling of maybe sneaking into around that 6th seed. Bobby thinks, a little bit higher than that. He thinks they're firm. They're fighting for a top 6 legit, and, they might fall into a 7 or an 8 slot, but I think they're closer to 10, 11, 12. But I think they could jump up there. I just don't see it. We could debate that all day long. But that's not really the point. I'm trying to say it without being a jerk about it.
Well, that'd be a first.
Just be a jerk about it.
No, I mean, it's just, will any of it actually, does any of it actually matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter a ton.
Does anything matter?
And Jimmy, what
meaning
my argument
so this was the question we asked. Sorry, this is this better question. Even though the East is crap, can the Celtics walk into any building with this roster and it's an automatic W?
Everybody healthy on every team? I don't think there's an auto W anywhere.
See, that's the difference between me and
it's
you.
It's the NBA. You got to have respect.
Yeah, for sure. And I still look at there being a difference between them, and this is, to the tanking conversation. I think there's a tangible difference between who they are and who Brooklyn, Washington, Utah, Charlotte, teams of that caliber are. I'll still go into those games this year, and maybe I'll be proven wrong when we see them against some of these teams early. But I'll still view them against those teams as automatic wins, near automatic.
They might be favorites. Oh, sure. If you want to talk about the betting lines, they'll go into those games.
Talent alone, right?
Favorites. But to just assume that they're going to roll over these teams is foolish. This isn't even the Celtics are not a playoff team. If you're not a playoff team, arguably they're not a playoff team. I think majority of people would admit that they probably don't look like a playoff
on the bubble. They're on the bubble.
On the bubble. Let's call them a bubble team. If you're a bubble team, you'd have no gimmies. You're a bubble team. You're on the bubble. You better bring it. The games that you're supposed to win, if you bring it, you show up and play well, then you win those games. The games that you're not supposed to win, you might show up and play well. You might lose that game still. Like, that's the difference this year. Is their best this year might not be good enough on most nights, whereas last year their best was going to be good enough.
Yeah, and I think people are viewing it as like a referendum when we say the Celtics aren't going to be good, I think people are viewing it as a referendum on their best players, and it's not. It's that their best players are being hung out to dry with a very, very, very poor supporting cast. So nobody's taking anything away from, like, Jaylen Brown and Derek White are both outstanding all-star caliber, if not perennial all-star players. Derek White is, one of, again, everybody knows Derek White's value. That has nothing to do with it. If you're a top-heavy team, your top has to be Tatum and Brown, Anthony Davis and LeBron. You know what I mean? It's like
the top.
The top has to be top. Okay. Right. Your top can't be Brown. Your top at Brown and White is still better than some people's top 2 players. Absolutely. Your top 3 of Brown, White, and Pritchard, all of a sudden starts to get murky because you're now taking a 6th man guy and putting him into your big 3. Now you're middle to middle lower in terms of your best 3 players, which again would be fine with a really good supporting cast. But after that, it gets pretty thin, right. Not saying Sam Hauser isn't a competent player, not saying Simons, who I'm dubious whether or not he opens the season on the roster or not, can't get buckets. I think he can, but you're getting thin fast. And once you get past 5, you're talking about G League and or replacement level players the rest of the way. And that's where you're getting buried with this team. So guys are going to have
boat raced when the bench comes in.
Yeah. Guys are going to have to perform way past anything we've seen from them at any level, at any point in their professional careers, or else it's going to be problems. You're talking about Shireman and Walsh if they have to play real minutes. Garza if he plays real minutes. Kada, one of those guys has to play. Boucher, again, fine piece. If you added him to a contender, you'd feel great about that signing for that money. But if he's playing 25, 30 minutes a game, it's all about being miscast. Everybody jumps up a level from an 8 or 9 guy to a 6 or 7 guy who's required to play legitimate minutes and is going to be in there at the end of games and in fourth quarters. Things are going to get tough. You have to pitch a perfect game a lot of nights to be able to be there. And Brown and White would have to really level up as well. So I always say this, Bobby, every year. It's like you'd rather be a team that says, unless all of this bad stuff happens, we'll be fine, instead of, well, if this breaks our way and this breaks our way and this breaks our way, we should be okay. There's a crap ton of ifs, right?
You don't think that opponents are going to focus on just taking Brown and White out of the game?
Right. And that's the number one thing I'm looking for.
They'll gamble all day. There's no bailout for the Celtics like there has been in the last couple of years. They can't just line 5 guys up at the 3-point line and wait for a team to wait for the opponent to double team somebody. They can't do that anymore. I mean, Pritchard might get plenty of looks from 3. And if he can fulfill Noah's dream of becoming an all-star this year, then maybe they have a puncher's chance.
If he turns into Jalen Brunson, everything changes. Like if all of a sudden,
I feel really good about him this year.
But I'm saying that changes everything, right? Like if everybody elevates, the biggest question is this: do the people given more opportunity elevate their games or struggle to play in a role beyond what's been expected of them at any point is so far in their professional career? Can Jaylen Brown run an offense and be the alpha dog with no running mate to take the pressure off that he's had his entire life? Can Derek White be a legitimate number 2 option that creates his own offense on a regular basis, averaging 20-something points per game? And can Pritchard play starting minutes, hold up physically and defensively, and consistently bring it night in, night out? If the answer to all of those is yes, then it's a different story. Or are they going to, is it not a natural, are you asking them to kind of play a little bit over their, beyond their
I don't think
level?
there's any.
And are they even playing? How about the fact that one of those guys sits, you're completely effed.
Yeah.
Who's coming in? Who's sliding in that starting spot? And there's even less options now. There's even more of a impetus on the opponent to just, double Brown or double White, whoever's in. There's one threat right now on the court in this game because player X sat tonight for whatever reason, and I don't want anyone to sit, of course, but it's the NBA in 2025. It happens, and so there were times. I mean, how many times last year did we say, "Oh, the Celtics are actually pretty good"? Like when Tatum misses a game, like they still win games, or when Brown misses a game, they still win games. Like that's not going to happen this year. If Brown or White are missing games, nobody's coming to save you.
Well, that's where I'll still give some credit to their coaching. And I know I wasn't on the Missoula extension show, but the biggest reason I wanted to see him stick around and be extended is the flexibility he showed last year. And I got on him a lot over his playoff performance. It was pretty ugly in that next series. But the regular season and the way they won games, especially over the last 2 years, like you mentioned, Jimmy, against teams when they didn't have their main contributors, sometimes as many as 3 of them, it showed me that they can play flexibly in terms of their style, fit in different guys to new roles or bigger roles when they needed to, specifically Pritchard, who did a great job of that last year. So they've done a lot of this stuff before. It's just, as you mentioned, there's less room for error with their depth. They're all moving into new roles they've never played in before that they have to show up every night in. And that's going to be the challenge for them this year, is the consistency. And then obviously there's a big picture with this team with tax and roster moves into the future and all that, where they're going to probably be more forward focused, especially if they don't get off to a great start here. You know, if they're below 500 entering February, it's hard to imagine that they won't be selling off a piece or two at the trade deadline. So a lot of this stuff is working against them. I just say this, John, a lot of other teams around the league have their own questions, their own challenges, particularly in the East. And that's why I bring up a Philly. That's why I bring up teams in their class like Miami. To me, I respect them. As I was trying to, I stacked up the teams in the East, a few weeks ago, Jimmy, and it was really hard for me to place Miami because it's a very similar team the last year that just couldn't put the ball in the basket. Right. I look at Orlando, who I love, and Michael Pina actually came on our show and thinks they're going to the finals. They were like 26th in offense last year. And yes, they got a nice shooter, but is that going to propel them into the top 10 of offense? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of questions for teams in the East, health-wise, roster-wise. Darius Garland's hurt with Cleveland to start this year. So there's going to be some opportunities in the schedule for them to rattle off some wins and stay above water. And that's what I think they can do early. Is that going to be good enough for them to establish themselves as a playoff team by the time the deadline comes around and some tough schedule stretches come on, injuries even too, Jimmy, as you mentioned there? It's tough to bet on all that going right. So if we're weighing, is this going to be a season above expectations or below expectations, especially based off that 43 number we're kicking around a little bit here? You do have to lean below just because of all the things working against them. And again, we've never seen this team since 2017 have to live life every single night without Tatum. So I get the pessimism, John, but I like their flexibility. I like guys' abilities in certain spots to play into bigger roles. And if they can find this is the big swing factor for me this year. If they can find a new style, faster, more aggressive defensively, playing the guy's strengths, I think they can unlock a few guys to have better seasons than we expect here, but it really is going to take some flexibility and adjustment from this coaching staff to play differently than they have the last couple of years. And I have to see that before I believe in it.
Yeah. I mean, my expectations are pretty low, so I don't know if they're going to disappoint in that aspect. I'm interested that you said you like their flexibility. What about their flexibility? Do you like?
Now that they have Boucher, and that was a big one for me. I think they can get into some bigger lineups.
He's their only center.
Yeah. And I think that they can, and the defense is a big one, as John keeps bringing up. How can they find a way to play representative defense this year? And I think with those bigger lineups, they're going to have more options there now. Because I didn't love the idea of it being Hauser at the 3 and Brown at the 4 and them trying to switch less. It just would have been really awkward. But now they can actually go to some bigger lineups.
Let's say Jaylen Brown plays the entire first quarter and Derek White goes to the bench with 3 minutes to go. Then Brown sits, White stays. And Pritchard, who's what's the lineup look like? What are they doing there? What happens at the end of the first into the second quarter? What happens there in the third into the fourth quarter? How do those lineups survive? I mean, short of playing Brown and White 40 minutes a game, how are you again? The secret to the Celtics' success over the last couple of years, and granted, everything went wrong in the playoffs because of health and a few other factors there, but the secret to their success was having 3 all-star caliber players on the floor at all times. Now you're starting with 2, and that's it. But that's it, right? That was the key, is you were, no matter who you had out, the reason some guys could be effective, Hauser and whatnot, was there's always Tatum and Holiday and Al out there with them. That's good. Like those are really like your bench, your second units with 3 all-stars were as good as anybody could put on the floor. And we saw how much the starting unit struggled, and they still had great numbers last year because they always had depth out there. They always had good players. You're so thin when one of 2 guys sits. I mean, that's the scary part. I mean, you got
what I said earlier. Yeah,
two really reliable guys, and then Pritchard, who's gonna go on heaters, and he's gonna have games. You're gonna be like, this guy's freaking awesome. That's it. I mean, that's what you're counting on here. It's just you need those guys to be, and they would win plenty of games when multiple guys would be off. You know, can you win a game with Brown off? Like, is it possible? Like against a decent team? You know, if White has one of his 1 for 11 3-point shooting games, you're dead. Like we're considering what these guys are at their best, giving them almost no margin for error. That's the problem.
That's the story of this team. Yeah.
They can't falter because they just don't have enough of them. That's the problem.
And they need, and as you mentioned, they need more to emerge too. And I like what Simons brings to the table. Again, I want him to start the year with this team. I think Shireman's ready to step into a role. Yeah, when we're talking second unit now,
I forgot about Simons.
But I'm still hedging.
No, I guess if he's
I'm still assuming.
I don't think you dump him.
I don't think they dump him.
I'm not talking about the merits of doing it. I'm saying this guy's been here. They haven't had an introductory press conference. There hasn't been a single social media tweet about him. There's no, hey, Simons is working out in Waltham, in Arback, right? Waltham, in Brighton right now with the team. Nothing, like nothing. They're acting like he doesn't exist. Like they told him, don't even move you haven't heard he's looking for an apartment. Nothing.
He's been in Boston.
Lies. Like they told him he hasn't gone to a charity event where every other player's gone somewhere. He didn't go to Vegas Summer League. He's just nowhere.
No, they've hit him, and they hit Niang, right? And then Niang was out of there.
And then they traded him.
Even Niang had like an apartment, I think, in Boston.
He's been from Lawrence. He just go home.
Yeah, he had a flop house.
There's nothing. There's not a hint from the Celtics that Simons is here to stay because there's been none of that. So
and it's too bad because I think he's part of that question, or the answer to the question you're asking, John, of how do you stagger productivity into the second unit.
Right.
I do look at him as a bench player for this team. I think Pritchard's earned the starting role. I think he makes sense in that role. So when you get into that second unit, I think it's Simons. I think it's Shireman, who's probably, to me, closest to being productive among the younger wings. And it is going to have to be Garza, who is one of those guys that just hasn't played NBA basketball. So you have no idea that I like him.
Celtics win 50 games. I'll deliver my first legitimate, authentic apology cam of my career. Put it here.
Now say a lot about Joe, right? And a lot of the best case scenarios.
First and only. I'll do it, Jason. I will.
A lot of the best case scenarios, Jimmy, for this team exceeding expectations are guys like Garza, guys like Minot, some of the guys they've brought in here who haven't played NBA roles, being guys that had something to offer, who were just on teams where they couldn't do it. And that's Shireman too, Jimmy, right? He had no room whatsoever to play on this team last year. Was that because he wasn't ready, or because there just weren't minutes for him? Because he did show something late in the year when he finally got those opportunities. So the only way this team exceeds expectations is for guys to do things that we're not expecting them to. When you think of a Garza, when you think of Shireman, when you think of, as John said, guys off the second unit, the bench, who they'll need something from, because they just don't have enough to rely on their starting unit in full. And again, I love that Boucher move because you can stagger your lineup a little bit now. Have Hauser come off the bench. If you really want to keep Pritchard and Hauser off the bench together, you can do that now and start Simons. There's some lineup balance.
The offer was, Jason, if they win 50 as you had declared, I will do my first legitimate apology cam straight up on me, and I'll make it last 2 full minutes. Okay.
By the way, talking about guys who haven't gotten a lot of opportunities.
We are now invested in the season.
Sad music. If you guys want me to paint, I'll paint my clown face.
Clown face. Yeah, I want the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, all joking aside, if they don't come out of the gates, and Bobby, I think you touched upon this. If they don't come out of the
gates
and
King James
compete and put up some wins, if it goes south fast, going to be hard to even justify trotting Jaylen Brown out there on a team that's 30 games out.
Let's just talk about the first.
They actually have expectations for next season. So why are you going to run your guys into the ground if you determine by December that this is a lost cause? We're just simply not good enough. Why are we going to put Jaylen Brown out there for 40 minutes and Derek? But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's the thing is, Jimmy, like I agree with you. And I also agree that like we're only talking what we think based on what we see now. Could we be surprised in a positive direction? Yes. We could also be surprised in a, oh my God, this is 100 times worse than I've ever thought. And Brown looks like a shell of himself and he's not the same athlete he was. And Derek White all of a sudden starting to show his age and he's not a number 2. And Pritchard can't handle the demands of being a starter. And things go bananas. Really. So, but I don't want to go there because we know that
I'm surprised you keep going there.
So
this is where we got into it.
We're going to trust that they're going to be good because we've seen them be good. I'm putting Brown, White, and Pritchard performance on a shelf over here and saying, I know that these guys will be all right. But we haven't entertained the possibility that it's not as good as we think or that they can't go up. We're just based on the rest of the roster and what we've seen right now, which is very little. We're going to continue this conversation. I do have to tell the folks at home, again, we said it at the top, but I want to say it one more time. Check it out. Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more, pick less. You see it right there. That easy. Win big up to 1,000 times your cash. And when you enter the code CLNS, you play 5, you get 50 instantly. Your account, once again, play 5, get 50 instantly. You can play this a lot of different ways. You can mix and match sports. I usually lock in on one game. I find it more fun and easy to one game and kind of figure out exactly what I think is going to happen because I got a better feel for that one. So you can play it that way, but you can do multiple games, pick more than 2, 3, 4 players, whatever you want to do, mix and match sports, doesn't matter. It's that simple. Download the app, code CLNS, play 5, get 50 instantly your account. There's a ton of other cool offers as well. Taco Tuesday, Freaky Friday, you get discounted squares that make it a lot easier to hit your picks. So again, sign up for Prize Picks today. Prize Picks, run your game.
You know who's a good, who's a fun play on Prize Picks this year, and I've been watching a lot more of the women's game this summer. Remember our old friend Kayla Cunningham, John?
Oh, she's a comeback player of the year. She's released twice. She's been great with the Valkyries.
Her sister Veronica is just having a monstrous
Veronica's
season.
been phenomenal out there. Veronica Burton. She was a first round draft pick, went 7th overall, never really stuck. Her bread and butter was more defense, but she's been out with the Valkyries right now, who, by the way, bang it out at about 16,000, 17,000 per game. They have massive attendance out there. They're the number 1 attendance team in the entire league, but she's been incredible.
30 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists last night.
Damn.
She's been amazing. And she was gone. She was cut twice. Too. She had a really rough start to her career. She's been amazing.
She's been, I mean, I obviously follow a little bit because of Kayla Burton, and seems like she's carved
Veronica's
out a
great.
nice role.
She was a first round draft pick. She was, high first round draft pick. She was expected to do well. She just kind of sputtered, but yeah, she's been good. She's been really good. We're talking about expectations of the season. You know who's not super bullish on the Celtics this season? The legend, the Coos. Oh my God.
Cousy.
Concern. Yes, indeed. Bob Cousy making these comments to the Boston Globe the other day. In my judgment, Jaylen is not quite the superstar level Tatum is. Can he carry the load by himself? I see a major rebuilding effort coming. Cousy also, he just turned 90 something. I forget what it was. He also said he's glad he's lived this long because he doesn't think and seen the titles he's seen recently because he doesn't think he'll be alive when they win another one. So Cousy thinks they're down for the count right now. And boy, did people not like this comment.
Old people just say whatever the hell they want, huh? They don't.
They just do.
They have no filters. Kind of like you, John. My God, you're gonna be a really tough.
What's John going to be saying at 90?
John's going to be very tough, dude. He's just whatever comes to mind. No, Yeah. And he's always going to have like a bone to pick, you know? It's one of those guys.
Well, the funny thing is if Cousy said, I think Jaylen Brown's going to win MVP this year, it'd be like, the guy knows what he's talking about. He's a Hall of Famer. But because he said that, it's like, get the microphone away from that old man.
All right. All right, Cousy, you know, back to your room.
So this is interesting, man. I feel like this is at the crux of so much of our debate, John. I don't have a lot of concern about Brown this year. I don't look at what he's done in his career in certain games he's played in and times where he's had to step up and do more and say, oh, I don't know if I've ever seen him do that. Like he's just never been in this position before. And I know we really got into it over that because I think your point is that we've never seen him do it for a full year, which is true. But we've seen him do it enough in spots to at least say, all right, can Jaylen Brown run the offense? Again, I'm not saying efficiently. I'm not saying well. I'm not saying at all NBA level. He's capable of running the offense. And so I'm not.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. So we're stuck here, you and I. You say that, but I want to understand why you think that. You say he's capable of running the offense.
Help us help you, Bobby.
Then you move on to another point as if that's settled law, and I don't understand why you say that. So can you make a case for why you think Jaylen Brown can run an offense?
Because I think he's grown enough at making the reads. I think he's cut down on the turnovers enough, has been willing to get off the ball when necessary and can create his own shot to the ability where, like in game 5 against the Knicks after Tatum went down, he had maybe the best game of his career in that spot and led the Celtics to the win. So is he going to be able to do that every single night? That's going to be the question that determines how good they are this year. But I don't look at him and say he's completely incapable of playing that role. Like he can step into a bigger position, score enough, pass enough, make enough right decisions, and draw enough defensive attention too. I think there's going to be a similar dynamic with him at the point of attack as Tatum had there. Is he as equipped for handling that? Not necessarily, but he hasn't had the opportunity to do that, John. And I think that's going to be the story of this year.
Which game are you talking about?
Game 5 against New York.
Elimination game? Game 5, okay.
So that was the game. Yeah, and listen, you can throw the elimination game right back at me, right? Where you have 7 turnovers, fouls.
Yeah, that's the point, Bobby. It's not that he's not capable. We have this. I use this in I use this analogy all the time. It's the golfer that birdies a hole and then just assumes that's who he is. Like, no, the next one matters. Like you birdie one and you get a snowman on the next, you're +3. Like that's not good golf. Like it doesn't, we know Jaylen Brown can do that in any single game. We know Jaylen Brown has had a couple of, I think his first ever or second ever 10 assist game this year, right? Which, by the way,
he had 12 assists in that game 5 I mentioned.
He's been playing a long time for him to have hit that number for the first time ever, but he did. So you were talking about peak performance being regular performance and whether or not he's capable of doing that. And with less talent around him. That's the question. It's not that he can't, not that he's not capable.
No, right. And he's going to have to do it every single night to be able to get this team where it needs to go. And that's not just on him. And I think a big reason I believe in him is that he can defer to White to make some plays. He can defer to Pritchard, who I have a lot more confidence in Pritchard stepping into a bigger role, Jimmy, than even I do in Jaylen. Because when Pritchard's been asked to do more and put into a primary role, and I know he hasn't started, but he has had to play 35, 40 minutes in some spots. He's put up monstrous numbers against pressure, against defensive attention, and I can see him doing that over a long stretch. So he has other guys that he can rely on to be able to carry the load offensively. I don't think it's just going to be Jaylen, and that's actually where I would be concerned, Jimmy, if Jaylen does try to carry all this load himself and do everything for this team, because I think when he does too much is when he's at his worst.
Yeah, I mean, I'm choosing to believe in these guys. I don't think it's an indictment on Brown or White or even Pritchard. I think, as John mentioned earlier in the show, there's nobody coming to help those guys. Like no players can bring it for the amount of time in games that you need without any level of depth. And I will, maybe it sounds harsh, but I just see zero depth on this team. You know, Simon's maybe being an outlier there if he does stick around, but we know what his capabilities are defensively. I mean, this team's identity is going to be completely different than it has been in the past few seasons. I share that concern with you, Bobby, regarding Jaylen Brown, But I also almost, in this case, I can't even really fault him as much. I didn't think he needed to do too much on the last couple of seasons because of the talent around him. Like that was a team that was built to move the ball and to share in the wealth, if you will. Now you kind of need guys to do too much. You kind of need Jaylen Brown to rely or to kind of depend on himself a little bit more than he's going to when he looks to his left to make the pass and he sees, whoever the G League guy is that they just called up, earlier that day. So I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, if I'm Jaylen Brown or if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm taking my chances with Jaylen Brown over, the other 12 options, if you will. If it's Brown, White, Pritchard, Simons if he's in the game, Hauser if he's feeling it that night, it gets pretty thin very quickly. So I do find the Celtics are going to be overly relying on those players, and that's a concern because you don't want to run them into the ground. And these guys are competitors. Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, hated to lose more than anybody on the Celtics team in the last few years. And he was really the one holding everybody accountable more than anybody else was on this team. Maybe Al Horford a little bit as far as accountability goes. But Jaylen Brown would be the mouthpiece for this team after games that they blew or that they didn't show up for or when they were struggling. And I wonder how that's going to affect him.
And this is why I keep stressing. This is why I keep stressing the style they play, John, because listen, if Jaylen's going to line guys up in the half court and play methodically like Tatum did and their mismatch hunting and all that, you don't feel great about that. But what if Brown's able to force more turnovers? They're able to get out on the run a little more. They play as one of the higher pace teams in the league this year, and we know what he's capable of in transition. There's a different style of play I think you can get to with Jaylen leading.
Is this an athletic team?
Under Tatum. It's way more athletic than it was a year ago.
Really?
How is it way more athletic? I don't get it. I don't get that.
You had Boucher, you had Minot. There are some real athletes on this team that you've added to the mix, and you're going to be relying on guys like that now too. I mean, Simons won a dunk contest. I mean, we talked about it a million times. This wasn't a fast team. This wasn't an athletic team. This wasn't a team with a lot of bursts last year.
I don't think they were athletic. I don't think they were athletic last year, and I don't think they're that athletic this year either. I think Jaylen Brown's athletic, sure.
I think they have some athletes, but they're just not necessarily. I mean, Simons is an athlete, but also he's a little bit undersized, and he's got some issues defensively. Boucher is fine. I mean, again, this isn't a run and gun sort of team. I mean,
they're NBA players, so ipso facto, they're athletes, but are they athletic? In the sense,
no, I mean they're not in the top.
But you're right. I mean, KP was not an outstanding. KP was a mismatch nightmare, but not like a super athlete. Tatum, again, people will argue about it. He's not an explosive above the rim, athlete. He's an elite athlete because of he's strong, he's big, he's physical, he's super coordinated. I mean, he's an exceptional athlete, but it's not like, again, I don't know that this team is out there running and gunning and setting the world on fire. I don't know that pace is going to save them.
How about this? You just said pace. The comment by, I can't post, but Justin Ray.
Like the scrubby players can be athletic. Yeah. Go ahead.
It will be easier to push pace without Tatum. This is
always
true. And I think that's going to be their ticket to winning games is maximizing possessions. And I think you're going to see Joe Mazzulla's stress.
And that's Mazzulla's mantra, right?
You're going to see him stress pushing the ball. That's why Pritchard's going to probably thrive this season, because he's a guy that wants to get out and run, and he's fast, he's quick, he's sparky, all that stuff. We know when Brown gets in transition, he can be lethal. Same with Derek White.
Offensive rebounding. Yeah, they have that.
They can maximize, and they're not going to be a great defensive team, so they're going to need to have more possessions offensively to begin with. So I think you're going to see a faster pace. Maybe that does make things a little bit more interesting, and at least makes these games a little bit more able to get through.
Yeah. No, I want to see them get to a fun style.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
I think
Pritchard and White are going to average like 25 threes between them, I think.
Well, that's the thing, is they want to run and then they want to pull up for a three. It's not going to work.
See, I actually do think they should keep shooting a lot of threes, because I think that's just something they can use.
I think they have no choice.
Advantage each
night. What are they going to
do?
Work at Takeda in the post? I mean, it's really not much of a situation here.
Transition threes? Again, I don't know.
I am excited to see it, not because I think it's going to be good. I'm excited to see it because it's unknown, and I'm curious. There's nothing better than again, you go back to those teams that you didn't think would necessarily be good, and then something works, and again, you always think of that Isaiah Thomas team with the Celtics, and like, you've got the pieces, the Crowder, the Jerebko, the blah, 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 whatever, and it works for no reason at all. And
they had like Evan Turner. They had guys that were supposed to be good.
Exactly. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Could it be one of those teams? Maybe. And if it is, it becomes super fun, because all of a sudden, instead of these scrub replacement level guys that you think are here, you're like, I like this Minot guy. I like this guy. You might start to, fall in love with these players.
I'm going to fall in love with guys
they play. Of course you are. Of course, because you have to, right? You've got to,
At least he's honest with himself.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. And especially
if there's a different style and if they're fun, that's fun. Like that IT team. You might argue that it was more fun being a Celtics fan in the IT year than it was a championship year. It's not blasphemy to say that.
Or even my favorite season was the Hayward one.
John
where Hayward
hates
goes
that
down
team that
and
won the title.
I like them.
Never seen. No, I like
not the 2008 team.
No,
not
I know.
2008, the most recent.
I know. I know. Oh, I know. I know.
My favorite was 2018 because Hayward goes down and you're like, oh, season's over, and then they go to the East Final. So
yeah, that team was great too. You love when they exceed expectations. That's fun. That's fun.
And when you're putting the bar as low
aside at that point, and you're like, this is good. I'm enjoying this.
And when you put the bar as low as you guys have in particular, it's not hard to exceed that. Like you're talking 35, John. That's not going to be extraordinarily difficult to surpass.
John's got them less than that.
I got him at 35.
John wanted to go less than that.
I want to.
Well,
I think
John really wanted to.
In play.
We'll have the season preview show, and we'll have.
I think 35 to 45 is the range. So 35 is on the low end of it, but I take it back. I think they could go lower than that, but my prediction is going to be like 37 when it all comes down to it. I wanted to stress
when we were first having this conversation that the team that actually tanked, that first Brad team that went into the year saying we're tanking, won 25.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's
that far off. And
doing.
Again, I do think what we're leaving out here is we're sitting here. What cracks me up right now is what I believe is happening behind the scenes is an ownership and a management tank on purpose because it's going to make them better. And I think idiots like us and Celtics fans out there are like, dude, I think they're going to be all right. And behind the scenes, they're like, no, we're freaking not. And it's by design. And so
I think you might be accurate about that.
She's telling you she doesn't like you.
If it happens, it's
I don't know.
I
feel like there's a little spark.
So you're saying
no, she's literally leaving you on red, dude.
And to your point, John, they're still capable.
Out the door.
As we said with Simons, they're still capable of dismantling this thing a little bit further and saying, "Oh, we're picking up some picks for the future," and And so that's where we have to. That's what we have to account for, is especially if they get off to a bad start, like you said, Jimmy. They could do some further roster tinkering to.
I don't think Simons is here on opening day, but that's about me. So speaking of which, and we're going to pivot to this as well. There was a thing that happened earlier, this week, maybe yesterday, 2 days ago. I can't remember exactly. NBA approves a new ownership. Celtics ownership led by Bill Chisholm. But before that happened, there was a report that Chisholm will assume the title of lead governor for the Celtics, and Wick was reduced to alternate governor and CEO of Celtics. Now, it didn't quite make sense because we're like, wait a second, part of this deal. The first tweet that came out was Wick's not doing the thing that he was supposed to do anymore. Some clarity came about here. This Ramona Shelburne tweet, I think, put a lot into it, which is Chisholm will technically be the governor, but he and Wick will run the team together as originally planned. This turned out to be a bit of NBA bookkeeping based on percentage of ownership and rules and who needs to be the governor to make sure that they have a particular stake in X, Y, and Z. So it seems like it's still in place. I got to tell you, I tweeted out what happened. I should have built a full screen off of this. Boy, do fans have some friggin' crazy theories about why shit happens here. It was like,
is it delusion?
People were like, it was unbelievable. It was like, you know what happened? He extended Missoula, and after that, I'm like, you think that's what happened? Wick got demoted. It was so freaking funny The amount of stuff that I'll find some and I'll read them.
The
It's
theories.
It's the theories.
Well, this thing has taken so long to come together.
Who owns this team? This is like when Danny Ainge like stepped down and they like threw Brad Stevens. I was like, who's running the show right now? Like, do we know who owns this team? Are they just a rudderless ship just drifting away? This franchise,
like John said, this hit fans and shocked fans. This didn't surprise me at all because I never viewed Wick, regardless of what title they were giving him, as having any majority say
actual
in
power.
What's going to go on here? Can he have some input?
Like
can he have? Can he have some?
I
say
think Wick's here because there's continuity and he knows where like the exits are, the emergency exits. You know, like he's just going to be there as like a steward.
He's a
and possibly take a few bullets. Yeah.
Right. And,
take a few shots.
They've made the toughest moves, right? All the guys, the key guys are at the door. Maybe it's some more difficult ones to come here, but there just didn't seem to be any purpose to me to upholding him in this role where he was going to be viewed as still in charge because
Wick Schrute.
He wasn't going to be cutting the checks anymore if he ever was. And Chisholm now and that group in particular, and I'm going to keep stressing like the Chisholm group because there's so many different players in it. They're going to be the ones paying for this team, and whoever pays for the team is going to be making the financial decisions for them. And that's obviously all fans should care about. If Grossbeck's courtside or called this or that, great. But whoever's paying for the team is going to be making the decisions about how much the team's spending. That was always going to be the case, regardless of who was called what.
Yeah, this is some of the stuff here.
Unexpected risk. Yeah, we got some finance talk here.
Some finance talk.
Yeah.
Probably got heat for extending Missoula.
Still the CEO.
Able for big decisions.
Chisholm changed his mind, asked out.
They're cheap, so they didn't want to pay him.
Things changed when the team pivoted to a full reset year. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money arguments. There is a Brown
you got a lot of traction on that, huh?
Brown getting traded. That's all I can think of.
I mean, people think this meant so much more than it really did.
The Tatum injury changed the organization's timeline. I just said, I wonder what happened. Why did it change? Oh, okay. That's all. What do you think happened? I just kind of posed the question to see. But it was interesting. Some people were like, I don't know. But it ended up being the league, above all else that seemed to, be the main thing behind it. But it's less about the power structure or what Wick's role is and, being a figurehead, rolling over some of the purchase price back into getting a share of the team himself. So he's still going to be a minority part of this ownership group, which seems like he's going to be. I don't care about that. What Bobby said earlier is that the only thing that matters. The money makes the decision, and where's the money coming from? And if it's a group and it's a board and it's private equity and it's this and that, and you're only answering to investors, and this is being run like a PE firm, which is what everybody's fear is when this bid was announced in the first place, which is why everybody wanted to go to Pags, because you would have felt under his stewardship, it would have been kind of more like, well, we're still the Celtics and we're still trying to win. I don't think anybody knows. Like, Barstool Greeny, retweeted that and it cracked me up. He said, "Now we pray." Like after the sale was made
we have no idea. And obviously they've had some influence on the early moves here, which they've had the cover of the second apron and Tatum's injury and a lot of different things that I think help fans accept a serious step back here. But we're gonna again answer quickly once Tatum's back and it's Tatum, Brown and company again, of how much they're willing to commit to win. And they're going to have some money next summer. They're going to have some ability to add salary, with exceptions and everything else. And how much are they going to do it in the first year back trying to contend? That's why I keep stressing, John, it's not just about this year and how competitive they can be this year. What they're doing this year is setting up what will be a year with expectations in 2027 when they're back. So they're back to square one with where we started the show basically in 2020, 2021 is ownership going to spend? And this group did, right? Because of Irv and all the salary they added to eventually move off of later. But now it's a fresh group. And like you said, private equity. And so we're going to see just how much of a say Chisholm actually has in being able to run up a luxury tax bill and all that. And, we'll get a sign too from whether they pay the tax or not this year.
I
Facts,
mean,
my dog.
No, I thought you were coming in, Jimmy. The problem is one we haven't heard from him, and it doesn't matter because he's just going to say,
I want to hear from him though.
We're gonna hear from him soon.
We want to return them to glory and this and that, and we're committed, and
yeah.
And none of it's going to matter. The actions matter, and the actions so far have indicated that the number one goal is to get below the tax. The tipping point here is going to be.
We'll
Simons.
see with the tax. They've said the apron.
This is a formal invite
but
to have Bill on the show, and let's clear the air on a few things. Bill, if you're watching, come join us. We'll have a nice convo. We'll shoot the shit. We'll talk off season. Talk about some expectations. We'll just introduce you to the fans a little bit, you know? Let's get Bill on the show, Bobby. What do you say?
But
let's do it.
Again, I really do believe that this is like the Simons thing tells you everything, right? I do think it's the most important thing right now. If they dump Simons before the season begins, it's very clear what the is. And that's strip it down. And here's the thing is, I think it's already clear. This was the plan. Brad just doesn't want to have to give up assets to do it. And right now he's holding.
And they've explained that.
He's not.
But isn't this kind of like peanuts? We're not talking a lot of money at this point, right? Compared to $6 billion.
We are talking about no team wants to take it on. Like they'll give you junk back.
No, I mean, if you're the Celtics, if you're ownership and you're thinking about taxes at this point, how much money are we talking about?
Almost everybody who would trade for Simons is going to have to pay tax dollars for him. So even if you do give back some money, you're paying $2, $3 on the dollar for him. You know, is that right, Bobby? Because most of the teams that be in a position to sign him are going to be in or around that first apron. They're going to be taxed on it. So it's not even $27 million. You're paying more than that for him. Most people just don't want that unless it's like a game-changing player, which is why you're going to have to give up an asset to get off him.
No, but
whether
I
that's
see
a miscalculation by Brad or not, I'm not sure. But yeah,
to carry your assets, to carry him into the season, I don't think 30 million, and maybe you can find some other ways to slash off that, is a huge burden. And yeah, you're talking about teams having to pay probably like 2-3% on top of what Simons makes to bring him in. So yeah, there's just not a lot of roster space out there. There's not a lot of teams that need a player like that. You're gonna have to wait for a need to open up elsewhere for him to show he's capable of way more than people think he is. So I just, and they've said this too, right? They're not going to give up assets just to move off money. And I actually believe them on that.
I believe
How much
too.
are they going to actually carry past the deadline though?
So the longer Simons stays on the Celtics, the less the opposing team, the less any team in the NBA has to quote unquote take on when they trade for him.
Yeah, in real dollars.
Exactly, in real dollars. So he becomes more valuable to a team that's over the cap. Every game that goes by, he becomes more valuable in that sense. And I also think he becomes valuable at some point to a team that is, one scorer away, or somebody goes down, a playoff contender, a player goes down before the deadline, and they're looking to bridge the gap, or they're looking to add a piece and take him to that next level. I think at some point, if Simons doesn't have any value right now, I think the longer you hold on to him, the better chance that he does provide value to a team. Maybe not every team, obviously, but there might be a handful of teams that all of a sudden he becomes valuable to, and maybe you can get something in return. You don't have to give up something along with him. Like that's, I think maybe where the Celtics could be at with Simons. So at some point, John, here's what I'll say. I don't think Simons is ever getting, an introductory press conference. I think it's a media day thing. If they can't get rid of him in time, he's just the guy at media day. He does one of the interviews and he goes on his way. They're not going to do this whole song and dance to announce Simons on this team. So that's the first time you're going to hear from Simons is at media day if he doesn't get traded before. I think that he's a trade candidate every single day until he gets traded, up until the trade deadline, if he gets traded. That's just that's who he's going to be on this team. That's where this team's going to be all season. They're always going to be looking for a way to add assets in some capacity or shed salary. They're never going to be a team that's like, well, maybe we can actually add somebody, or actually let's hold on to this guy. If they think he's a core piece, that's something that I don't think they know yet. It's something that
as far as I can tell, I don't think
but Jimmy, I think they've decided whether he could be or not, I think they acquired him to trade him were unsuccessful in doing so and have now pivoted to what's the best thing we can do now. But I do believe that they got him just to trade him, and the idea
they got him
was
to get rid of Holiday,
save money, right? But then they
2
thought
years
they'd
of
be
Holiday.
then they thought they'd be able to roll that salary into something smaller and save more money. I don't think they got him because they're looking for him as a piece for the future.
To do it.
I think it was a step in the direction. Correct. I think it was a step in the direction they wanted to go in.
And I like him, but I believe the impetus for doing it was to save money, not because they like the player and they're looking for him as a future.
But I also
piece.
think like we're talking about him like he's Theo Ratliff's contract. Like, remember that back in the day, it was like Theo Ratliff's expiring contract was like the biggest thing in the world.
It's just everybody's tight right now. That's all.
Right.
Well,
but
and
like, that's
there
too
is
bad
a big
that the NBA
difference.
salary cap is like this now, because this is a talented player that is stuck in purgatory now because of, tax dollars.
He got too much money under the previous system.
I still think he can help the Celtics or any team really in the role that fits him. He's a complimentary piece, but he's a good complimentary piece. He might not matter to the Celtics this season, but he can definitely help a team. So I just find it hard to believe there's no market.
I still look at him and where he's at and where the Celtics are at and say his biggest value is to Boston. Like we said, they need bench scoring. They need reliable players anywhere they can find them. And that's what he's shown to be in his career so far. So I get the financial and long-term reasons you might want to look into trading him at some point down the line. But I don't think there's any pressure. And I haven't gotten the sense either that there's some mandate that he doesn't need to be here on opening night. I think you have until the trade deadline to figure out what you're going to do with everybody on this roster. And you just start the year, see where it goes, and make moves and react to opportunities accordingly. And I think that's what this front office's mindset has been. Like George Niang hung out here for 2 months before they finally found a exception to dump him into and move out that money. And like you said, Jimmy, there's a difference between this guy who's younger and has shown potential and might be of value to someone down the line, and Niang, who was just $8 million that they were looking to move off there. So I want to see him on this roster to start the year. John and I are both excited about him. We don't agree about a ton, but I think we both like this player.
I like him a lot, and I actually think there's more to it than like I said. I can't believe that a person who won a dunk contest, isn't athletic enough to be able to play defense if he wanted to.
Especially in a new team, new system, all that.
And he can shoot, he can score.
Jimmy,
I like the player. I always have.
Been on such a bad team for years that can impact your growth.
He's buried in Portland. They play at 10:30 every night. They don't get any national TV games. Unless you're an NBA junkie, you don't really know much about the guy. And I think he could definitely get a boost to his value, to his popularity, to his overall just value by playing on a team like the Boston Celtics. I really do. It's just a matter of if he's going to get that opportunity. Bobby, I think we all agree he can help the Celtics. That's not a question. It's just a matter of, do we know
their goal?
Does ownership want help? Does the front office want help, or do they want salary relief and ultimately losses?
Lottery positioning.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll just say about the lottery positioning too, because I'm going to be saying this all year. You can end up in a good draft position from the play-in, as we saw this year with Dallas, with San Antonio, who wasn't in the play-in but close, and then certainly Philly, who was expected to be good this year and then just fell apart injury-wise. So all three of those teams were teams that went into last year with the intention of competing, and then ended up being the top 3 picks in that draft. So it's completely unpredictable where you're going to be drafting from. They just need to draft good regardless of where it is. And it'll obviously be better if it's higher, but there's no way to manufacture, guarantee, or put yourself in position to be at the highest spot possible. And I think a lot of the teams that have tried to do that have been screwed. So I do agree, John. The thinking behind the scenes is probably, if we're bad this year, it wouldn't be the worst thing. I don't think they've put a full, complete roster together. They're a little closer with Boucher, a move I really liked. But they just need to react to where this start goes. And that's, again, why I was excited about the schedule. What's the opening stretch like? It's tough. It's going to be a tough opening month for them. I think it's going to tell us a lot about them.
Yeah.
Again,
on one hand, you get some of those harder games out of the way early when you're theoretically at your healthiest and there's the most hope in the season. So
and it was like I said, it was going to be tough anyway because everyone's just adjusting to new roles and all that.
Right.
But you're seeing the Knicks right off the bat: Pistons, Pelicans, Cavs, Sixers, Rockets. That's all in a row right off the bat after Philly on opening night.
Heavy.
Before you
Rockets,
get maybe
is that Rockets home or away?
Home.
Oh wow, Ime early.
Then it's like Magic, Sixers, Grizzlies, Clippers. Like
that's a good game. That Rockets game, that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, remember Amin hit that game winner in their trip here last year? That was one of the better games of the year. Man, they're gonna be fun. That's gonna be my team this year, Houston. Durant, Ime, all those young guys.
Well, I haven't looked at Vegas, but I imagine they're one of the top teams out there in the West and championship odds and everything.
Who you guys liking early on? Who do you think's got it this year? Is it Oklahoma and everyone else, or is there going to be another year where the team trying to repeat just can't?
I mean, I think it's OKC. I think it's definitely OKC out of the gates. Obviously, Houston's got championship aspirations. Don't sleep on Denver. It's definitely
Denver's
West.
Really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely West. The East is kind of like we're going the wrong direction here in the East. I think overall.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're looking after. Good. That's why I think people feel okay about the Celtics, because I think you can definitively say Cleveland, New York, Orlando are better, and then you start to get into maybes, and it's not automatic.
I mean, I'm forecasting Atlanta's going to be better, but
when you get into everyone's got Atlanta, Philly, Detroit
Pistons
ahead of
Beasley
them for 6. But then the Celtics are in that mess.
The hodgepodge.
Like Boston, Milwaukee, and the Pacers of like, we all lost a star to an Achilles, and what's left on this roster? Do we have enough? The Heat are a wild card. The Raptors could be better. But it's not great. I understand why people look at it and say, that's why people look at it and say, we just have to exceed expectations by a little to get into the top 6. And like, Jesus. Yeah. No, I get it. I do believe that we are not. I want to believe that the guys are better at that, but I do think we are possibly not focusing on how bad the back end of the roster could be. And not only that, when you've got question marks in your starting lineup, like you're starting at whoever you're starting at center, or you're starting 1 and 2 guys that you're like, I don't know if these guys are starting caliber NBA players. And then you get to your bench. So I think they have as many or more question marks as a lot of other teams, and it's the depth that kills them. I even think some of those other teams you don't feel good about, I think they might have more professional basketball players on their team when you get to like 6, 7, 8.
Indy.
Not great. Yeah, even Indiana. And so that's where it gets in Miami. That's where it gets tricky. Is the depth is so poor.
I think Indy is such a good comparison point for them too, because when we're talking about have guys played these roles before, like we saw Nembhard in the East Finals against Boston step into Halliburton's role and thrive. And I know they didn't win, but did a great job with it. Siakam's played a primary role on a team before and has led a team. Like those guys have done that for Indiana. And we've seen Indiana do more with less. We've seen all of their depth guys play big NBA minutes and thrive in them. You said it earlier, John, there's so much you just have to forecast and say in your mind, okay, this is going to happen. We haven't seen it. We have no proof it's going to happen, but we think it's going to happen, and they're just going to figure it out. And there's a lot of that in projecting that the Celtics are going to be really good this year. I'm leaning on the fact that they just have a lot of opportunities to beat teams that aren't great. And I think that's why they're going to come in.
There's a lot of not great teams.
Yeah.
I have them like 500.
Any given night.
One of them. They are one of them. Yeah.
If it's 500 in the East. 500 in the East last year got you the 7 seed.
Yep. And that's within the realm of possibility. I'd say even higher. So we'll see. Anyway, the debate will rage on until we actually see them on the court. But we have done enough talking for tonight.
2 months.
One more quick shout out to Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app, all of North America. 50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Use code CLNS. Sign up today. Prize Picks, run your game. That's not the thing I wanted. Also, subscribe to all of our stuff. Find it. You see our little X handles, Twitter handles on the screen. Celtics, CLNS, The Garden Report, as well as the YouTube channel. Or you can listen back to this podcast or any podcasts, both The Garden Report or anything on the CLNS Media Network. Of course, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, what have you. But please subscribe, rate, review. All that stuff helps us out. We do appreciate it. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us in a slow summer news day where the NBA schedule has been released. Bobby's going to go pour over it for the next hour or so. And Jimmy and I are going to go back to doing whatever it is that Jimmy and I do. So again, thank you guys for hanging out. We will see you next time.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way. Let's slide Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke